Before I talk a little bit about how World War II affected my life and things that I tried to do during my years that I worked in education and after in retirement, I think we need to understand a little bit about what life was about in the 1940s. And what was involved in that big conflict. The numbers are astounding. It's hard to realize how many people fought or took part in the battle, and how many people lost their lives, and how many people were wounded, and how many people are still not identified or being found from this conflict. We take the country of Germany. They had over 20 million soldiers, 20 million people fighting to allow the Nazi Party to rule the world. And of those 20 million people that fought for the Nazis, 33,200,000 lost their lives. 3 million people lost their lives fighting to establish Nazism in this world. The Japanese had over almost 10 million people, and they had over 1,250,000 people lose their lives. Again, fighting to be a dictatorship to take over this world. In order to answer and to try to save freedom from those dictatorships, the United States had 16,112,000 soldiers, of which over 450,000 people lost their lives. We had over 700,000 soldiers be wounded, and we had a lot of soldiers that we still have not identified exactly what has happened to them. There were a lot of other countries that were involved also. The Soviet Union lost a lot of people. The United Kingdom, who we supported, they had over 6 million people, 6 million troops. You can see from those numbers it was a huge conflict. Now in realizing the conflicts, let's look a little bit about what was happening in the United States in 1935, 36, 37, the early 40s. This country came out of a Great Depression. And I can remember growing up and we had a program called the Works Program Administration. Franklin Roosevelt was the president, and there were many, many people, there were millions of people that were unemployed, had no way of making a living. The soup kitchens were bountiful. It was pitiful. We started a work program where they work on the roads all over the United States, started to build the turnpikes, started to build all these roads to give people jobs. It was really a Great Depression, and money was very, very difficult to come by. A gallon of gas you could buy for 11.9 cents a gallon. And you brought a loaf of bread for 10 cents. And if you didn't have 10 cents and you had 8 cents, the grocer would take it. So that it was a different way of life. As I said, the only way of communication was through newspapers and telephone and radio. And the telephone was operated by an operator. You rang it, and the operator would say, "Number, please," and then you would give them the number. And your number was just within your own local community. It was very difficult for you to talk to anybody away from where you lived. I can remember in the little town of Slippery Rock where I grew up, I had a paper route, and I had 37 customers that depended upon me to get that paper to them every day. And if I didn't get that paper to them, the operator would be ringing our home number and wanting, "Where's that my paper?" And that doesn't happen nowadays. It's a little bit different situation. You don't look at papers, you turn on your computer or your internet or your iPad or whatever else you got. That's way beyond me, but you turn on all those things that you have and you can get the news, you can find out anything you want to know about anything or anybody. The nice part about that time was that everybody knew everybody else. I had a little dog, and it was a male dog, and he liked to wander. And when he got to places that he wasn't supposed to be where there were female dogs, the people on that house would call and say, "Come and get your dog," real fast. So I'd trot down and pick up my little dog and bring him home. Well, those things I'm sure don't happen today at all. It is a different generation. It's a different way of life.